Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Still looks like an emoji.
Yeah, he does look like a human emoji. You're right. Yeah, not our producer, Alex. You look great. Gentleman on TV, always dialed up. Look, if you're on TV and you're bald, and this is just a little tip for myself, you got to hit yourself a little bit of that powder. I like it.
Oh, you got to powder up.
The top of the head's powdered up.
Yep.
But then you have a pencil-thin mustache, and you've negated all the good work you've done. You look like a...
Can't stop looking at the mustache.
Why are you looking like, what's that guy's name? Hercule Poirot. The Poirot guy. The French detective guy. Come on, I don't need that mustache. Get it out of here, Harry Lyles. Come on, man. Hey, welcome to the program. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Jeremiah Jensen over here. Alex Kirry here. Our producer, Alex, in the booth. We've got lots going on for you today. Not the least of which is just absolutely, tell me this is not a totally sports fan thing to do. I spent much of last night lamenting Utah's jump in the NHL draft. One, because it wasn't expected. Like no one thought to themselves, we deserve something nice with this Utah Hockey Club franchise. I think it's been a pretty nice year.
Yeah.
We didn't think to ourselves, hey man, why can't we get something nice? That's what we think for the Utah Jazz. So when the hockey club moves up 10 spots, there was part of me that did the move that is the low self-esteem sports fan that went, guess that means we're not going to be able to get the
immediate
NBA.
thought.
Right? You went the
Immediate
same
thought.
way?
Well, there goes
Of
Cooper
course.
Flag. Jazz will be 5th in the lottery.
Now, there was part of me that said, hey, maybe everybody's been donating all that money to Primary Children's Hospital. It's paying off in spades with all of
Is
our...
that why Utah Hockey Club moved up?
That's what I'm saying. Just like the good karma overfloweth for Ryan Smith and his crew because they just, everybody's been making those donations to Primary Children's Hospital with our 2-for-1. We're good people, JJ. That's what we're, and I will, by the way, if the Utah Jazz do get the number 1 overall pick, I will 100% put it on the efforts that we've made here at the station.
We'll take credit, full credit.
Why not? Why not? We've been begging people to do it for the sake of making sure that we land that. And look, last night, like as an afterthought, I think most sports fans looked at that and went, oh, okay. Yeah, the hockey club moves up to 4. And you go, that's not insignificant. That's crazy. That is bonkers that it happened. And yet here we are. We need to be a little bit more aware of the fact that sometimes this is how it works. We might have wished upon a star and it went to the wrong freaking organization early. Because, like I said, that's how my brain goes
Right
sometimes.
ownership group, wrong team.
Come on, you know how it is.
The Utah
exactly how
Jazz
this
have been
goes.
around for 51 years.
How many times they moved up in the draft? 10 spots?
Never.
Yeah, I know.
They've never picked number 1 overall.
And by
And
the
the
way-
one time the franchise had a number 1 pick, they traded it to the Lakers and it became Magic Johnson.
By the way,
It's a curse.
This is how it works. You had and we didn't spend enough time last night on the fact that the Islanders are also insanely had the crap odds to be able to get the number 1 pick.
They moved up 9 spots.
They go from 10 to 1. Okay? And then the hockey club go from 14 to 4. Only because mathematically that's as high as they could go.
Yeah, they would have been 2nd.
Come on. And so are we about so what we're praying for now is just like the regular numbers work out. Not that this weird fluky crap.
We need the worst team in the league to win the lottery.
This. Don't you hate all
like
this?
it should be.
I know. Don't you hate all this?
I hate it. A lot of anxiety built up.
Monday's going to be bonkers. So while we're watching...
I didn't expect Monday's result to make next Monday more anxiety-ridden, but it has.
Because, look, Because we were unfamiliar with the NHL draft lottery process, so sue us, first
I
of
think
all.
everybody except the people in the room were unfamiliar with the process.
We watched the whole ping pong ball thing go down, and the round one, we were like, of course, they didn't win. Okay, they're going to go to 14. That was the way we reacted.
They technically couldn't win round one.
Right.
They weren't eligible.
So then it was like, all right, well, then they're going to be 14. So then they go in the second round, and later on in the program, we're going to play Bill Armstrong's hilariously candid and 100% like true reaction to, oh boy, this is crazy. So I'm just wondering if that's going to contribute. I'm wondering if that's going to contribute to my anxiety for next week. The answer is yes. I will say this. It makes it a little bit more exciting next week too, right?
So much on the line.
Come on.
So much at stake.
All right.
Oof.
We got lots going on in the program. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients, so no preservatives, make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. So there you go. Give it a shot. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, all in the refrigerated section. Try it out for yourself. Let's kick off the program. Let's talk some college football. This is a really good one because it's another way too early spring college football ranking. We'll jump in, of course, and we'll get some Big 12 thoughts. We'll give some BYU possibly. Now, look, Utah, I will say, is moving on up the list. It's like people are starting to forget last year as an outlier, and I'm loving it, okay? So we'll jump in right here. Let's do it right now with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program. TRAJANwealth.com for all your trusted local needs in retirement. JJ, first of all, I saw a list today that I want to bring up before we get to this. Also, completely meaningless, but still, I'm going to hang on its every number type of a ranking. That's how way too early lists work, right? Like,
yes.
They make 0 sense. There's not a lot we're going off of here.
Yeah, what did our way too early rankings look like last year?
Well, I'll tell you what it didn't have, and it was BYU anywhere near the top, right? And it had Utah way up. And why wouldn't it, right? You have the promise of what could be, which is what you have now with every team, by the way. Rosters are changing over more than we've ever seen in college football. And so these way too early college rankings are actually less. I mean, they're even more insane to try to hang your hat on because the personnel is changing up so much. But also, because personnel is changing up, ironically, it's also the thing that makes you think that your team has an even higher shot of being able to be part of that conversation. Now, way too early lists don't really matter, except for they kind of do in the sense that these types of lists, whether it's CBS Sports, whether it's College Football Weekly, whether it's the ESPN, if it's all when they put these lists together, you can't help but think that the AP voters or whomever. It matters at the beginning of the year what the first rankings are. Whether or not you like it or not, it matters. Those early rankings matter in the season. So, by association, the way too early rankings also kind of matter because you want to position yourself in a spot to where you can be in that conversation early because the further along the way that you're in that conversation, the easier it is for you later in the season to make a case for yourself as a college football playoff candidate, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's essentially what goes on here. So let's go through here. Now, a lot of the same cats that you may have heard of before. Ohio State is number 1 on CBS Sports' post-spring rankings in the top 25. Okay, Texas is number 2. Penn State number 3. Probably the biggest shock to me right now is that Clemson is listed at number 4 for them. What has Clemson done? Aside from make a commitment to not going out into the transfer portal really very often, the closest that Dabo Swinney's gotten to go to the transfer portal is going over to the basketball team across campus and asking a guy to transfer over to the football team, which he got to happen. So Cade Klubnik is a name on the list of national quarterbacks that gets attention. That helps for Clemson. If you have a named quarterback that is a big name, that is going to get you pretty far. In the case of Ohio State, you might not necessarily have the Will Howard that you did last year, although that didn't matter. Will Howard wasn't a big name. But you do have Jeremiah Smith coming back, and we do know what Jeremiah Smith can bring. We didn't know last year at this point what he was going to do. So what will happen when it comes down to it? So Clemson gets kind of an early nod. And I know that they made the college football playoff appearance, but we already determined that based off of how that worked last year, JJ, didn't we kind of write them off as they probably shouldn't have been there?
Yeah.
They were one of the worst appearances of the college football playoff last year. I don't know why I would believe that Clemson should be ranked in the preseason number 4.
They're returning most of their production. I think that's what people are pointing at. And if you're looking at it, who else are you going to put there? Who else is worthy of that? Because outside of the top 3, I'd actually put Georgia ahead of Clemson, and I would put Oregon and Notre Dame probably ahead of them as well. But after that, it's just kind of a crapshoot. Who's the next team after the ones I just mentioned that you feel really confident about being there at the end of the season? LSU?
I would even
Speaking of overrated.
I know. Unfortunately, I would put Alabama ahead of some of those just because it's freaking Alabama. And I know it's not Nick Saban. I know it's not Nick Saban, Alabama, but I prefer to hang my hat on what the Crimson Tide can do, and even Kalen DeBoer in year 2.
You believe in Billy Napier in Florida? They've got him at 10.
Oh, that's crazy to me. Now, that's crazy. Now, I get it. They were on their way to becoming a little bit better of a team. They started to hit on some cylinders.
They won 8 games.
They won 8 games, which in Florida, like, again, when you're a program like Florida, you get credit for basically being an 11-win team, right? And because you won a lot, you kind of strung together some wins by the end of the season. That's also there. Miami has no business being in the top 15.
Well, they got Carson Beck.
As if that guy
championship
deserves what championship? What championship? Did he win a championship? No. This is a guy who got a bunch of money, and he should ride that wave as long as he can, because I'll tell you what he's not going to be is a good NFL quarterback. I mean, I'm not trying to be like the next, Skip Bayless to go, he's not even going to be good at the next level. Wow, Carson Beck. Do you have any thought that Carson Beck is going to be like the next, Joe Burrow in the NFL? No. Absolutely not. He hasn't done anything at the collegiate level to make us think that would be the case.
So Miami loses something, in my opinion, at quarterback.
Right.
And I think you get to that point, and it's just they're just throwing teams in here because they're names.
All right.
Right? Look, they're all brands.
Yes, they
Everything
are.
in the top 10 is brands. I'm not convinced anybody.
Even number 11, yeah.
So I say Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame, I believe in. The rest is just put it in a hopper like the lottery we saw yesterday in the NHL. Let the ping pong ball spit out some teams, because after that, who knows? Is Illinois ready to take a big leap?
That's what I was going to say, is that it finally takes you to get to number 12 to where you get to where there's a flyer that's taken on a team, because Illinois, Brett Bielema's team has shocked some folks, and I know that they had a really, really good year. They won 10 games last year in the Big Ten. It shocked a lot of people, but they also were that team that was thought of as the team after the team who's after the team. So they weren't in the Big Ten championship game. They're not good enough to be considered a Penn State. They're not considered enough to be, or not considered good enough to be certainly in Ohio State or even in Oregon, who are all ahead of them. Is there another Big Ten team that I'm skipping over there? Yeah, those are the ones, right? Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon all ahead.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. You might have Indiana who would say, hey, man, why aren't we in this discussion ahead of Illinois, right? Because they had a pretty darn good year last year. Now, is replacing Rourke at quarterback going to be a tall order? Sure. Like right now,
how much of what happened with them was their schedule?
A way too early, and look, the way too early list that they have here is Indiana not even in the top 25. Does that shock you? It does me, just because.
It's easy to re-rank teams that were successful last year. They went to the college football playoff. Give them credit. They did what they had to do with the schedule they had. I agree with them not being in it because I don't believe in them. But you could make a case that they should be in the top 25, sure.
But there are teams that we definitely don't believe in, too, that have no business being on this list. But there's a lot of
let's get to the Big 12 then.
All right, so let's get to the Big 12. And your first 3 teams in the Big 12 are all 13, 14, and 15. Kansas State, and the very first thing that they list for Kansas State is Avery Johnson.
What is
I don't know if everybody was.
Avery Johnson is must-see TV when Kansas State offense is on the field. I watched Kansas State games last year.
Didn't that kind of turn you off to him last year?
It wasn't must-see for me.
We were waiting for Avery Johnson to become the guy last year.
We were
thought
told he was
now.
a big deal.
Right.
It never materialized, and they were disappointing last year.
BYU's listed at 14th. High or low for the Cougs? Because
just right.
Okay.
I love this for BYU.
If you're going to say, hey, look, Avery Johnson was amazing, and Avery Johnson could be even more amazing, great. Jake Retzlaff is still a big question mark for a lot of BYU fans. What's not a question mark is how many wins they got you last year and how many big wins they had. And it takes skill to win close games, which they did. It takes skill to beat teams like Kansas State, which they did. Actually, they did that in easy fashion, right?
Yeah.
So Retzlaff leading one of the Big 12's more explosive offenses, but the defense needs some help in the trenches, which I think, by the way, I don't know who's writing this up for CBS Sports. Like,
they got the help.
They kind of got the bigger names, and I know big dudes left.
I don't know if they have the depth that you probably want or feel comfortable with, but they've got starters there.
Two big names.
They got a potential first-round pick in Keanu Tanuvasa.
Tanuvasa, and now Kirkland coming from Oklahoma State. That's a pretty good
That's going to plug up the middle
punch.
as long as those guys stay healthy. They're great there. I love their linebackers, even with who left?
Harrison Taggart.
Yes. Corner Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
He left to go to Cal. I still love their linebackers. I mean, they got 2 NFL linebackers, in my opinion.
So now you get to number 15, who's TCU. So you've got 13 Kansas State, BYU 14, TCU 15. That is a big upgrade for TCU, and an upgrade that I don't necessarily disagree with, considering what the usually what you're looking for in a list like this is, do you have a QB1 that is a threat?
Yes.
And the answer for TCU is they probably have the best quarterback in the Big 12. Am I wrong?
I would make that case.
Josh Hoover is scary as hell if you are a BYU fan or anybody else who's facing up.
BYU, you're listening right now, fans. You know. You remember.
Listen, and it was
I don't want to remind you, but you remember.
Freshman Josh Hoover, who wasn't even that good, beat BYU, 44-11? What was the?
Oh, my gosh.
That was a terrible game down in Fort Worth.
That was the beginning of the end for the 2023 season.
But that was before Josh Hoover really kind of grew up last year. And Utah fans, you don't need to be reminded either.
No, they don't. They won 6 of their last 7 games last year. I love TCU. I think they can win the Big 12 and go to the playoff.
Michigan 16. They've got a 5-star quarterback, Bryce Underwood, but he's also a unproven 5-star guy at the collegiate level. Then Arizona State gets listed at 17. Is Cam Scadaboo leaving that big of a punch in the gut that they're going to be listed as the 4th best team in the Big 12 according to these rankings, JJ?
I think so, unless this Army running back comes in and does similar things. He rushed.
But I thought Sam Levitt was supposed to be the world changer,
ran
right?
for 1,100 yards last season at Army. Can he replace some of that production? Because I expect Sam Levitt to take another step and get better. He was okay, right? He didn't wow anybody. He didn't have to. He just had to take care of the football and be consistent, which he did. If they can replace Cam Scadaboo's production, if they got another 1,000-yard back on that team, that changes how I look at Arizona State because they've got a lot of production back.
Did you call him Scam Scadaboo?
Now here's a debate.
Was he ripped it?
Scam Cadaboo? No.
Scam Cadaboo? Oh, I think he ripped us off. I don't think he's real, man. He's a scam. He's Scam Cadaboo. Okay.
This says that Sam Levitt's one of the nation's top 15 quarterbacks. Agree or disagree?
Wait.
The person that wrote this said that Sam Levitt is one of the nation's top 15 quarterbacks.
I think he is in the Big 12, maybe in the top 5. And it's only because he was on a team that went to the college football playoff last year. It wasn't that he did so much last year that totally, blew your mind. So I would actually, if we're talking about quarterbacks, I might look at him at the same level as Devin Dampier, maybe even Devin Dampier being even more of a threat, right? In terms of what he can do, because he did more with less last year. So yeah, I mean, fine. Was Sam Levitt on a team? Was he the quarterback on a team that was a top 15 quarterback or a top 15 team last year? Yes. So was Jake Retzlaff, and I don't look at him as being a top 15 quarterback in the country either. But we'll see, right? Oklahoma is 18, which, by the way, this is were they 6-7 or 7-6?
6-7.
6-7 team.
Oklahoma 6-7.
Oklahoma,
that's not going to fly.
And I get it that they got John Mateer from Washington State. And I get that they got Ben Arbuckle as the OC now. But
there's a lot of pressure on those two.
Yeah. Are you really convinced that, now I'm calling the defenses, Brent Venables. I'm calling the defense, and Ben Arbuckle's calling his offense. I mean, we're an unbeatable pair. Maybe that turns out to be what it is, but this is still an SEC that is not going to be an easy nut to crack, okay? Now you're to your fifth team in the Big 12 with Iowa State, which, by the way, you could make the case that Iowa State and Rocco Beck, who should be probably listed as a higher grade quarterback than even Sam Leavitt. Am I wrong?
I would take Rocco over Sam right
I
now.
think
when Sam's a senior, maybe we're in a different conversation.
Sure.
But right now,
but Rocco Beck,
I would take Rocco Beck.
I think Rocco Beck is probably the second or third best quarterback in the conference, behind Josh Hoover.
Sawyer Robertson's in the conversation.
Sawyer Robertson
now.
at Baylor could be in that conversation.
I'll give Jake Retzloff some
Sure,
some flowers.
I don't know if but I don't look at him as
I'll
being.
consider him.
Sure.
And Devin Dampier's got to prove it at the Big 12 level, but he may be a top 5 quarterback in the league with his skill set.
Okay. So then we get to Tennessee, just the obligatory Tennessee, throw them in there, okay?
Yeah, even without a quarterback, they're throwing him in there.
Fine. Texas Tech is your sixth team in the Big 12 at number 21. And again, that's also a team that overperformed last year.
But they killed it in the portal.
And they do a good job.
If you're looking for a dark horse Big 12 team, the Red Raiders.
And by the way, they pay guys. They
had the nation's number 2 portal class. Just remember that. It's the most expensive roster in the conference.
They pay guys. And I'm telling you, it's one of those teams that has a lot. They
just added 5-star receiver Micah Hudson.
They have a lot to be able to get to get this thing done. So, South Carolina at 22. That might be low for the Gamecocks.
If you're looking for a SEC dark horse, I would pick South Carolina. Lenora Sellers is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. We talk about top 15 quarterbacks in the country. He's in that conversation. So when you got a quarterback, you got to do it, especially in the SEC. You got a shot.
Okay. Then Louisville at 23, SMU at 24, and Auburn rounds it out at 25.
No way is Auburn the
just
25th
as interesting. No, of course not. Hugh Freeze is. What's awful for Hugh Freeze is that they're in these rankings, because all it's going to do is make him look worse. Right? When they're not good.
Put Baylor, Boise State, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Texas A&M all ahead of Auburn. I'd put USC ahead of Auburn.
So. Boy, I'm just glad USC didn't make the list.
I know,
to be honest.
Well,
we could see them.
We talked about it yesterday.
You could see them at 18 and go, well, they've got all this great talent. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we see all the time with these
USC is the Texas
lists.
of the West. If it's every year, it's their year.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that they didn't put them in this list. They don't deserve to be there, in my opinion.
Right.
But surprised they didn't, because everyone always gives USC the benefit of the doubt.
But by the way, on the just missed the cut list is Baylor, Boise State, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas for no reason. Is it just because of is what's his name back as their quarterback again?
Yeah.
Jalen Daniels? Oh my goodness.
Running it back.
Nebraska, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, UNLV, USC, and Utah all making. By the way, again, you'd be foolish to not put Utah on that list. The outlier was last year for Utah fans. The outlier was last year. Not like a new future for them losing football games. That's not going to happen. You're going to see a different Utah team on the field this year, and I promise they're going to be in that conversation.
Do you think Utah's the 9th best team in the Big 12?
Is that where they'd have them?
Based on this, that's where they would fall.
Yeah, until proven otherwise, probably.
9th probably gets you to a bowl game in the 16-team conference.
So 16 teams, number 9 sounds low. Like if they finish 9th,
let me throw this at you.
If they finish 9th in the Big 12, that would be a very different thing.
Which
right now
Big
at
12
9th,
team that's mentioned ahead of them in these rankings, 1 through 8, which teams are they better than?
Ooh, that's a great question. Don't know yet.
Because
Don't know yet because
maybe ninth is
about right.
The next step for them.
Maybe Baylor because I know Baylor turned it on last year at the end of the year.
I think they're going to be better than Kansas.
I think they'll be better than Kansas.
So let's put them up to 8. Now who do they pass? Baylor?
Not yet.
Okay.
Gotta wait.
So then that's where you have them, 8th.
Okay.
Not better than Texas Tech. Not better than Iowa State.
If they finished 8th versus 14th last year.
Yeah.
Out of the 18?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. Or the 14
if they're 8th or 9th, they're going to a bowl game.
Okay. Is that good enough for Utah fans?
No.
I'm looking at Alex. Is that good enough?
When you go 5 and 7 with all the changeover they've had and some of the losses they've had in the transfer portal, you got to recalibrate your expectations.
Okay, so recalibrating expectations, is that 7 and 5 then?
Probably.
Or is it?
No, it's 7 and 5.
Ooh. See, I think 7 and 5 is still not good enough. I look at it like if you're an 8-win
fans,
team.
no.
If you're an 8-win team in the first year of Devin Dampier, because you're going to get 2 years out of him, hopefully. 8 wins this year, I think, would be phenomenal, and I think that's probably the expectation.
I think they're.
I don't think Utah fans are going.
This is how I feel.
Right, 7 wins.
This is how I feel on March 6, 2025.
It's May.
I
May
feel
6th.
like 2026 is the year for Utah, not this year, because it's going to take these young guys they've brought in a little bit of time, including their quarterback, to adjust to Power 4 play.
Okay.
But I don't like. You're right though. You got 2 All-American or 2 potential first-round picks at tackle. That offensive line is going to be earth movers. All you got to have is guys that are just simply better than average to make an improvement over last year.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. When we return, it's we've got quite a lot of fun planned for you today. Speaking of the Big 12, you got a new extension for the commish. What does the future look like with Brett Yormark signing up through 2030? Is that a good thing for the conference? I'm actually quite shocked, but we'll talk about it next. We'll come back, and then we've got a Would You Rather coming up a little bit later. You don't want to miss any of it. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that thigh!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Thanks for hanging out on a Tuesday. Wait, is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday, right?
It is Tuesday.
Okay. Oof.
Good thing you asked.
Well, I had that.
What are you going to miss?
Sometimes I get that mental lapse. Well, no, I mean, look, I'm missing everything. You know how it is. We miss quite a bit.
I mean, you might need to pick up a kid or something.
No, not
if you think it's Monday or Wednesday.
No.
That could be bad.
No, if I was relied on to pick up a kid from school during an afternoon drive radio show, it'd be a problem. But, yes, I do have to plan out my days a little bit, and sometimes I forget what day we're on. Coming up at 4 o'clock, by the way, our guy Mike Folta, Utah Hockey Club radio play-by-play voice, is going to join us. I love when Mike comes on because Mike will give us he'll give us that inside thought on how that number 4 overall pick hit last night for him and all the other folks that are part of the hockey club. We, of course, listened afterward to Bill Armstrong, who was still just in shock over moving up so far. So we'll get his thoughts coming up in just a little while. In the meantime, Brett Yormark ends up getting he's still the commissioner. He's going to be so through 2030. I thought that was a pretty big move by the conference to say, hey, let's extend him. I think that the job that he's done has been second to none in terms of vision, in terms of what Brett Yormark has brought. I mean, obviously, he brought something totally different to the conference as a commissioner, and that is that he had a fresh set of eyes on how to do this thing and how to jump on immediately and start to make some waves, and he did that. And I think that it's great for the conference to have him on from till 2030. I think he's got a pretty good vision. I think he also holds court with a lot of these other conference commissioners, which is what you need to do. You need to be there, and you're not going to be invited to the same meetings all the time as Sankey and the other guy out of the who's the dude out of Jim
Tony Petitti.
Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey. They pull all the strings on the from the big level. But I think Brett Yormark has said, hey, the Big 12 is not just going to sit by and hope and wait for the crumbs to fall off the table from the Big 10 and the SEC. And so I think it's a big move for them to be able to do it. And obviously, when the two biggest brands like Texas and Oklahoma end up falling off, and he knew that when he took the job, but to be able to say, you know what, I think the biggest thing that they were able to do was to say, we're going to go Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, instead of waiting around, right?
Yeah.
Instead of waiting to see what happened. And instead, you saw the conference get stronger, I think, adding those four brands. And, maybe it's not the same as having Texas and Oklahoma in terms of what you're going to get attention-wise. You're still getting four big institutions with that. And obviously, it goes without saying. I mean, think about the attention that Colorado brought this year, that Arizona State brought this year, that Utah typically brings in any normal year. And Arizona was on the up and up until last year, going backward a little bit with Brett Brennan's first year. But I still think that what he's done so far has been awesome, and that's why it's great that I think they're going to sign him up for some extra years. To be honest, I think we all looked and said, yeah, he'll probably do this for a little bit and then he'll be out. But they signed him up for for a total of 5 years, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, his shtick is a little, I don't know. It doesn't fit the Big 12 very well.
No.
But that's what the Big 12 needed, was somebody who felt like a CEO.
He has an Eastern accent. That doesn't go over well. Like, you're based in Texas, and Bob Bowlesby, you were used to having kind of the old hat and the old guard. He came in and changed things immediately, and I know he's a basketball guy, and I know he's got that New York background, but I'm telling you, it's worked so far. He's forward thinking.
The only mistake I think he's made was mispronouncing Steve Sarkisian's name.
To give Coach Sarkisian.
Yeah, but you know what?
Other than that, he's nailed just about everything.
I think he did it on purpose because he knew he was out.
Good. I like that. Games guy. Shit. Then he's perfect. He hasn't done anything that I mean, so let's look back on what he's accomplished and why he deserves this. What has he been the commissioner for 3 years?
Yes.
So he took over at a time when there was tumult and all kinds of issues going on in college football. And the Big 12 was on life support, remember. Now, I think that Bob Bowlesby saved the conference on his way out. Let's not give Yormark all the credit. What did Bob Bowlesby do? He brought in BYU, Cincinnati, Houston,
and Central
Florida.
UCF,
and that provided a stability at that moment that the conference needed to survive. But Yormark took over from there and made the Big 12 the third best power conference in the country. And when you consider the alternatives, it's pretty impressive because imagine not being where they're at right now. Imagine being where the ACC is right now. I think he's done a lot better job than Jim Phillips has with the ACC. We've saw what just happened between the Mountain West and the new Pac-12 and all the stuff going on there right now. The Big 12's in a great spot. It's not perfect because they're not Big 10, they're not SEC, but that's not reality. The Big 12 could not be in a better position right now thanks to what Yormark has done. He stabilized the Big 12 because when Texas and Oklahoma left, they had to do something. And they also took advantage of the Pac-12 situation. He was aggressive, super aggressive, when it came to locking down a lucrative TV deal. Remember, everyone was like, oh, wow, he's giving up a little early, are you there? Like taking the easy way, taking the low number there. Well, they got a 6-year, $2.28 billion television contract with ESPN and Fox, and that saved the Big 12.
Yep.
Because there's the money. What happened to the Pac-12? They didn't get that deal. Their commissioner did not make that deal, and they blew it. Everybody involved with there blew it, and that's why the Pac-12 is where it is right now. Hanging by a thread with two teams, soon to be rebuilding, but the Big 12 didn't have to rebuild like that because Brett Yormark was aggressive and had some ingenuity. He had some creativity, and he had some, I think he had a lot of brass. He was very strong and confident in what he was doing, even though he had not been a conference commissioner before, but how many are? So you combine all that with what he's been able to do, and now you've got a strong 16-team conference that is solid, that has the money it needs, and now it's up to these schools individually to push this conference forward. I think that's the only thing that's lacking right now for this conference. And it's going to be tough because we know where all the money is. It's with the Big Ten. It's with the SEC. But the institutions in this Big 12 conference now have to go out there and win some college football playoff games. They've got to make some noise. You saw what Houston did, getting to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. The conference had a good basketball season this year, and they had a really good one last year. And I think they're just going to continue to get stronger. So I know football is really what we need to be talking about because that drives the whole engine. The next step for football is getting that college football playoff win, advancing to the semifinals, and getting to a final. We need to see that. But right now, I don't think Yormark could have done any better than he has, and he's got this conference in a great position to be successful and to continue to prosper moving forward.
Do you think that, as obviously the future of college football realignment and whatever that looks like, people are nervous about what that could be, right? I mean, in the end, what is it that everybody wants? They want to be included in that conversation, yes. Whatever that conversation looks like.
And they want to make money.
Right.
They want to be included, and they
right.
want the money.
And so in my mind, like this is one of those things where I think a lot of people look and they go, okay, what is it exactly that you have to do to be a part of that conversation? I think part of it is to have a commissioner who's aggressive. I mean, that's part of it, right? I think Bob Bowlesby was a lot of things, but he wasn't necessarily forward thinking. I think he was kind of that old school. Yeah. I mean, to be quite honest, he wasn't really the guy.
He didn't have the vision that Yormark has had.
Right.
He didn't have the aggressiveness. I'll give him credit for saving the conference with those additions, as I mentioned, but why was the conference in that position in the first place? Because he was not progressive when it came to the new landscape of college football.
Yeah, and I do wonder what that future looks like. We wonder if that's going to be a super league. We wonder if that's going to be a league that is some version of the best of the SEC, the best of the Big 12 or the Big 10, the best of the Big 12, and how that comes out. And if you can negotiate that and to be a part of that, that's where you want to be. And I think it's a guy who kind of knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a guy who he is not going to get caught flat-footed that often. I think that's the benefit of having a guy like Brett Yormark.
And you know what that breeds? Confidence.
Yeah.
You have confidence that he knows what he's doing. You have confidence in his leadership because that's what leadership is.
100%. All right, let's take another break here. We'll come back. We have our Would You Rather right around the corner. It's going to be an NBA theme because the shock of all shocks last night, I think, with a couple of road Game 1 upsets.
That's 3 total.
I love it.
Second round's going to make up for the first.
It's made for some intrigue at the very least. So we're excited about it. I want to see how this thing goes down. We'll come right back. We've got more to go. Stay here. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Oh, yeah. Big 12 Media Days. We were just talking about. I think the Big 12 felt like their ears were burning.
2 months away.
We
are 2 months away from college football media days.
Got the media credentials open for us to sign up to go to the Ford Center down in Frisco, the Star. It's That's basically a life-size, how would you put this? It's a replica of Jerry World, a miniature Jerry World. So it's like you still get the Star in the middle of the field, still get Cowboys and Cowboys in the end zones, and then they pretend like when they're high school. Like when I was a kid, like it was a big deal because Texas Stadium back then, Cowboy Stadium, Texas Stadium back then, hosted the 5 and 6A playoff games back then. So it was a big deal. I remember my older brother, when their team was in the playoffs, and they let like a moment where the teams and the families could like walk down on the field. That was like all time for me. Trying to kick a field goal on, at Texas Stadium, looking around, seeing the Ring of Honor. So it's a miniature version of that, but and it's not. It was back at Texas, or it was back at Jerry World a couple of years ago. We went to Vegas last year. Now we're back in the home of the Big 12. They said they were going to do that, too. They were like, we're going to do this Vegas thing for now, and we're going to go back to Texas next year. And we're like, yeah, right, you're going to love Vegas way too much, Brett Yormark. But no, we're back in.
Guess who's going to Vegas this year?
Mountain West.
Big Ten.
No, they are?
I think so.
Oh, of course they are.
So
why?
Maybe that's why. They got big-timed.
Because USC and UCLA are sort of that direction?
Because it's Vegas. It makes sense.
I guess. Whatever. I'm just mad because we're not going to Vegas. It's just an easier trip.
Last year was fantastic.
It was easy. It was easy.
Yeah.
It was.
We sent the whole crew. We sent the whole team. It was fun.
Allegiant Stadium, massive, accommodating. We'll see how it goes this year.
Yeah, they're going to Mandalay Bay.
Oh, they are. Nice. Hey, listen. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday starting tomorrow on Wednesday. We've got tickets to give away to Eric Church and the Free the Machine Tour coming to Delta Center October 23rd. You can find tickets at SeatGeek starting on Friday, May 9th at 10 o'clock. You can also just win tickets tomorrow right here across the station. Every show, all day long. It is the KSL Sports Zone's famous Win Ticket Wednesday. All right, JJ, I've got a Would You Rather here for you. Now, this is this is all subjective. And I'm trying not to make this too easy on you, but I do want to make you think about it, at least a little bit, because weirdly, with the advent now of metrics and numbers and looking through the lens of how those numbers are kind of processed. To be clutch in the NBA playoffs isn't necessarily the straight line of just going, hey, Michael Jordan, man.
No, it's not.
Hey,
ask Robert Ory.
Hey, Kobe Bryant. Yes, right. There are people who show up in the playoffs. Yeah. Yes, and so I have a list of the clutchest performers in the NBA.
Ooh,
and I'm going to ask you to. In the NBA playoffs.
Is this active or all-time?
All-time.
Ooh.
So the
now
guy...
define clutch.
So, okay. Clutch players, leading game-winning shots, and also have consistently won in close matchups. Titles included, but also just series overall wins are also part of the metric that they use. Okay, so... Big shots, winning series.
Okay.
And winning championships obviously probably goes for more. Sure. But even just winning games in the playoffs with clutch shots and in close games is all part of this. Yes, this is all time. So this is, but then again, it gets to be subjective for you. So you tell me who you'd want to be leading your team with. Larry Bird or Dwayne Wade?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird or Dirk Nowitzki?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird or Jerry West? Pretty high on the clutch list, by the way.
Boy. That just got tough. Still going Larry Bird.
Our producer, Alex, is like, Jerry West? Who the heck is that freaking guy? May he rest, okay? He's the logo.
Yeah.
How dare you? Now it's going to get tough. So you said Jerry West?
No, I said Larry Bird.
You said Larry
Bird.
With
Larry.
Larry Bird or Reggie Miller?
Oof. Oh, man.
That's rough. That's a tough one.
Reggie Miller, yeah, that
comeback
against the Knicks, I'm going to go Reggie.
You're going to go Reggie?
He had some big shots,
And by the way,
we're not talking about who's the best player. We're talking about clutch. Who made the biggest shots
and not
in the
just
playoffs?
Playoffs, yes, playoff
So
clutch.
Reggie Miller, I'll go with. I don't remember. I mean, Larry Bird probably had one or two, but Reggie Miller had an iconic clutch moment.
Okay. Reggie Miller or Allen Iverson?
Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller or James Harden?
Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller or Robert Ory? He's on the list.
I'm going to blow you away here. It's Robert Ory.
No, big shot, Rob.
Big shot, Rob. That's how he got the name.
Yeah, man. Robert Ory or Kobe Bryant?
Kobe.
Kobe Bryant. Ooh, again, it's going to get tough. Kobe Bryant or Magic Johnson?
Kobe Bryant.
Okay. I love how you were like,
Magic
just
was the
dismissing
facilitator. Magic, I mean, he probably took some of the. Magic was the facilitator.
Okay, now these are also okay. Oof. Who did you just say? Okay, Reggie Miller still, right?
No, who'd I go with? No, we're at Kobe.
No, you're at
Kobe.
you're at Kobe.
Yep.
Kobe or Ray Allen. Oof.
Oh man, so that Ray Allen 3-point make against the Spurs.
Again.
I'm trying to think of an iconic Kobe playoff shot that beats Ray Allen's. Can't do it. Going Ray Allen. I know that's sacrilege, but I'm going Ray Allen.
Okay.
Remember what the topic is. I'm going Ray Allen.
Ray Allen or Steve Nash.
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen or LeBron James.
LeBron James, not just because of a shot, but because of a block.
Oh.
That was
Okay.
clutch.
Now, there's a lot of big men, by the way.
And LeBron's
listed
made
on
some
here.
big shots in the playoffs, too.
I'm not listing. Some of these guys who are on this list aren't just big shot guys. They're also guys who were on teams who were top scorers in. Because, like, Shaq is on this list. Bill Russell's on this list.
Yeah, he should be.
Kareem is on this list, right?
Yeah.
LeBron James or Steph Curry.
LeBron's been more clutch than Steph.
You think
in,
so?
Overall,
just because of the
playoffs.
2016 series, huh? That's what you're gonna do.
When
comes back from
name the big
3-1.
Steph shot in a finals or a conference final. Name it.
I don't know. I think about it and I go, that guy's got 4 titles, and it was basically because of him.
Remember, we're talking about clutch.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's made incredible plays. He's one of the all-time greats.
Plus the all-time meltdown
We're
against
talking about clutch, and LeBron's had more clutch moments than Steph in the playoffs.
LeBron James or Michael Jordan. The old conversation.
It's Michael Jordan.
Oh, it has to be, right?
He did push off, though.
What a clutch push-off.
It really was. That was clutch, too.
I even think
Got
of
away
like,
with it.
what
That
was
was
his
clutch.
name? Was it Elo?
Greg Elo, Cavs,
who got hit in the face, just dropped that
89.
ball right in his
Game
face.
5.
That was like an early version of MJ in the playoffs.
That was Michael Jordan's first clutch playoff moment.
Because he had 6 threes, right? He was like 6 for 7 from 3 or something like that, something bonkers.
Dagger.
6 threes, by the way, back then was insane.
That was a big deal.
Now it's like, did you make 10?
Well, yeah,
you
Buddy
make
Hield
9?
had 9.
Yeah.
Buddy Hield went 9 of 11 in a game 7.
All right, Michael Jordan or Buddy Hield?
2 days ago. Yeah, recency bias. Buddy Hield, he was
Buddy
9 of 11.
Hield, he went
How do you get
9
more
for
clutch
11?
than that?
All right, we'll take the break. Well, I'm glad it got back to the center. I'm glad it got back to normal with Michael Jordan still over LeBron. All right.
Man, that's a lot of good clutch players. That was fun.
It's a lot. It's a lot of really good. When you think about it, it's tough to put any of those guys behind on any one of those dudes. Because like Reggie Miller would go, I will shoot the ball over any one of those cats you just mentioned. I don't care, and he'd make it most of the time. He was tough. Boy, he was hateable, wasn't he? I hated Reggie Miller's face as much as I hated Spike Lee's face. Like, they were both watching both of those guys, and like the choke and like his face and like looking at
it was incredible.
Crazy.
And yeah, Spike Lee involved in the whole thing. I mean, they made a documentary about it. That's how clutch he was.
Yeah. All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back. We've got Mike Folta, our radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, going to join us next. Give us his thoughts on how last night shook out with the number 4 overall pick going to the Utah Hockey Club in this year's draft. We'll talk to Mike next. Stay here, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.